This tribute to the late Sir Geoffrey Johnstone is brought to you by Cordwell Banker Lightburn Realty, Coal Insurance Agents and Brokers Limited, Bahamas Waste Limited, Graham Thompson and Company, Kelso Medical Laboratory, Higgs and Johnson, Ghanai Pools of Nassau Limited, the Dalbinus Agency Limited, NUA Insurance Agents and Brokers, Calendars and Co., Nassau Paper Company Limited, and the Free National Movement. Hello everyone, I'm Wendell Jones and welcome to this special program on Jones and Company. And on our program today we pay tribute to the life and times of a great Bahamian, Sir Geoffrey A.D. Johnstone, a politician and a consummate lawyer. He served for many years in the House of Assembly. He was elected in 1962 in the Eastern District of New Providence, and he became leader of the United Bahamian Party. He was very instrumental too in the formation of the Free National Movement. Sir Geoffrey Johnstone served in the first ministerial government in the Bahamas when the Constitution changed in 1964. He was Minister of Records and Road Traffic. And then he also served as the senior partner in the law firm Higgs and Johnson, and made a tremendous contribution to the legal profession in this country, and some say to the financial services sector in the Bahamas. He was a trust lawyer and indeed a transactional lawyer in the Bahamas. On our program today, you would hear from some of his friends, and we will speak with the senior partner in Higgs and Johnson today, as well as former Governor General Sir Arthur Folkes. We begin our program today by speaking with one of the former colleagues of Sir Geoffrey in politics, someone who knew him well, a former Member of Parliament in the Bahamas, Mr. Michael Lightburn. Mr. Lightburn, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones.
It's good to see you here today.
Mr. Enes, it's good to be here.
Mr. Enes, nice to see you. Mr. Lightburn, you served as a member of the House of Assembly for many years, and I believe that you served after Sir Geoffrey Johnstone. But he was a leader in the political firmament in the country. Indeed, he was a leader of the United Bahamian Party. I don't know if you were a member of the United Bahamian Party, but tell us about his contributions in politics.
Well, my connection with him started in the middle 60s when we were gearing up for the 67 election. And that's when I obviously knew him before that, but that's when I got to know him quite well, working with him politically and with the then UBP, and continuing on from 67 until 72 when he was in the opposition. And in 72, I ran, and he and a number of other UBP members, they stepped back and turned over the reins to others, and me, in this case, being one of the others. He was an incredible person who I don't know if anybody could say anything bad about him. I mean, if you ask people who maybe were not favorable towards the UBP, I'm sure they would have bad things to say about the UBP, but not about Sir Geoffrey. He just had a wonderful way about him, had a great sense of humor. He loved people, no two ways about that. He was intelligent, and I'm not just talking politically. Obviously, his legal side of things is out of my ballpark, so I knew him mostly politically and as a friend. And he was always a true friend. You could call on him for help in any way you needed assistance, and he was always there with with good advice and would know how to point you in the right direction. He was a great human being, and I think those of us who knew him well, we were the more fortunate ones than those who didn't know him that well. But he lived a full life. It was very sad how it ended up, and as we know, he hasn't been well for a few years. And he made his contribution to this country, and I think we all owe people like him, and in this case him, a great debt of gratitude.
Godfrey?
From your vantage point with Mr. Jeffrey, what about him that impressed you most?
I think his willingness to help, and he wasn't one of these people when you needed assistance would point you in another direction. He would make sure that whatever the issue was, he himself, if he couldn't assist you, would point you where you could get assistance. And I never felt like I was left wanting. And obviously when I got into politics, he helped me, and I went to him numerous times for advice. And I don't think he ever let me down. I can't think of any occasions where I was given bad advice. And I will treasure my memory and friendship with him.
You would say, therefore, he was really a people's man.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to put it.
Well, Jones, I don't know if you want to tell that story about when he went to visit the lady in Owen.
There were many of his constituents who loved him because he was a good-looking man. There was a constituent in the eastern end of the island who told him that he resembled Jesus. And because she thought Jesus was a good-looking man.
Well, he was a very handsome man, and I think that assisted him. And I always used to joke with Arthur Hanna,
Yes.
who ran against him perhaps twice, and about their difference in looks. And I became friendly with Mr. Hanna after Sir Geoffrey pulled out of politics, and we always used to joke, particularly when Mr. Hanna became Governor General. He was telling me, I believe Geoffrey's still my assistant, because I don't believe he ever handed in his resignation, because he was the deputy governor at one point. Anyway, I'm just saying that to say we joked about these little things.
In one of my interviews with Sir Geoffrey Johnstone, he made a statement about politics, Mr. Lightburn. He talked about money in politics. He said to me that money talks in politics, and big money talks big. I never forgot that. He was making the point that we ought to have some political reform in the country and find a way to bring about campaign finance reform in the Bahamas. So he was a nationalist and believed in democracy, didn't he?
Absolutely. I'm just maybe digressing, excuse me if I do. I'll never forget when we merged the UBP and the Free VLP.
So Arthur would have an issue with that, because Arthur, who we're going to hear from in this program, said that the UBP disbanded, and they made a pledge that this will not be an amalgamation or a merger at all, but they would start afresh.
He's absolutely right. You're refreshing my memory. Mm-hmm. Anyway, when the two parties got together, is that a better way to put it?
Yes.
I can remember at a rally, Geoffrey turned to me and says, this is working. I'm so happy and proud. And obviously we didn't win, but it was a turning point in Bahamian political history. It was a necessary one. And others took the ball and ran with it, and eventually the Free National Movement became the government. It took quite a while to happen, but and he obviously played his part.
He was instrumental in bringing people together. Having been the former leader of the United Bahamian Party, he played a pivotal role in bringing all factions together.
Well, so Arthur can advise you or comment on this better than I can, but I would assume from my vantage point back then that he was perhaps the leading light from the UBP side
Yes.
after they had dissolved.
Mr. Lightman, the 1962 election, that was the first time I voted. I was born in '42. And I can remember Sir Geoffrey being viewed as a successor to the old guard of the UBP. You know, because Stafford, Sir Rowland, that genre of UBP politician was gradually leaving the scene, and he was seen as a bright spot. What is your take
Well,
on that?
I'm sure that's the case, because another one was a close friend and colleague of his, Basil Kelly. They were seen as new
Yeah.
lights in the UBP. Unfortunately, they left it so long before they were able to, attract a good cross-section of the population of the party that they did the right thing, no question of that.
He was not only a leading politician in the country, a cabinet minister, as I said at the opening. He served on many government boards, and he also served as deputy to the Governor General. And so, to put a capsule on it from your perspective, how would you rate and describe his contribution to our democracy, and especially in this independent country?
I think he did everything that could be expected of anyone, and he did it willingly and with the betterment of the country in mind. He was an incredible person. Never self-centered, never thinking of himself. It was always other people. Geoffrey had some wonderful qualities. Anyway, it's hard to replace people like that. And they come along, not too many in each generation, but he was certainly one of them, without a doubt.
Mr. Lightman, thank you very much. When we return on our program, we would hear from the former Governor General, Sir Arthur Folkes, who knew Sir Geoffrey well. And we would also be speaking with a former colleague of his, the now current senior partner of the law firm Higgs and Johnson. We take this break on our program. We'll come right back.
This tribute to the late Sir Geoffrey Johnstone was brought to you by Coldwell Banker Lightburn Realty, Cole Insurance Agents and Brokers Limited, Bahamas Waste Limited, Graham Thompson & Co., Kelso Medical Laboratory, Higgs and Johnson, Goodnight Pools of Nassau Limited, the Dalbinus Agency Limited, NUA Insurance Agents and Brokers, Calendars & Co., Nassau Paper Co. Limited, we're more than just paper, and the Free National Movement.